Anti-Doping Agency, World Anti-Doping Agency, they're going to be banned. Okay. So I know that we have several people in class that are OU athletes. My guess is that you guys have been subjected to various drug testing protocols at certain points, potentially around competitions, or if you're going to go to sort of a conference or a national championship or something like that. There are different things. Some things are banned by the NCAA that are not necessarily banned by these other ones. And really where things get are the International Olympic Committee and WADA oftentimes have even more stringent things than what the NCAA has. Okay. So if you want, you can go and you can Google what are the banned substances list. Okay, but it's a lot of the things that you're going to think about, that you're going to think that they are. Okay, and so we'll go through things and I'll kind of point out which ones are banned and which ones aren't as we move ahead. Okay. Okay. So everybody get out a piece of paper. Okay. We're going to turn this in. Everybody's going to do this one individually. So for my Zoom people, you guys can type this up and email it to me. All right. Type it on the notes page on your phone and text it to me, whatever. Some of you still haven't turned in your thing from last week, even though I sent you a reminder. You know who you are. Okay. Let's go through this. Now, I found these things on Google and on Amazon, and they can allegedly be purchased. Whether or not you can actually do that, I don't know. But let's start with this, okay? Our first little vial here has testosterone in it. So all I want you to do is just say, number one, write down testosterone, and I want you to tell me yes or no, okay? Yes, it's ergogenic, or no, it's not ergogenic, okay? Similarly, just do number two and write growth hormone. And tell me, yes, I think it's ergogenic, or no, I don't think it's ergogenic. Very simple thing. All right, very simple. Okay, so let's start with this. Anybody want to have a go at testosterone? Yes. Yeah. You want to have a go at it, or yes, you think it's ergogenic? Okay. Both. Okay. All right. Keep an eye on Daniel. It's fine. So Daniel says yes, testosterone is ergogenic. Does anybody disagree? You all think testosterone is ergogenic. Okay? My folks on Zoom, how many of you guys had that testosterone is ergogenic? Give me a thumbs up or something. Got some people saying yes. Okay. So somebody wrote in the chat. All right. All right, Dana, you said yes. You read us off. Why do you think testosterone is ergogenic?
I'm thinking about it again, and when you said improves in athletic performance, does it mean immediately or any? Like
yes.
Long-term or any?
So it's a good question. You've seen through my why we start with this one. Okay. So I think we need to make a fine distinction between is something ergogenic like acutely, like on the day, right? I inject you with testosterone. Are you magically going to be better at whatever it is you're trying to do today? Okay. Versus, is it a ergogenic training aid in that what it will do is maybe it augments whatever I'm doing when I'm training, and that allows for sort of greater adaptations from my training that then lead to my being better at my particular sport. Okay, so you want to revise your answer then?
Yeah.
You're gonna say it's not. It's not ergogenic.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you guys think? Devin, do you agree with Dana? What do you think? I give you testosterone today. Are you going to be stronger within like an hour? Do you think? No. Okay. Are you sure?
I think it like takes time, like one injection probably doesn't like help immediately. It probably takes like multiple injections over a period of time to like build up.
Okay. 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 So, anybody want to disagree with that? So, how does testosterone work? You guys are all like, "Oh no, it's ergogenic." So, what's it gonna do? If I give you, we're gonna do Devin's thing. We're gonna give you testosterone every day for a month or something. What's likely going to happen? Yeah.
Increase muscle strength,
It will definitely increase muscle strength, but why?
firing rate.
Okay, could increase firing rate, sure. Somebody put something in the chat. Ooh, let's go to chat. Chat box, what do we got? Dylan says increase muscle mass and force production. If I give you testosterone, is it going to give you bigger muscles, maybe? Yeah. Everyone should be saying, oh God, yes. It will give you bigger muscles 100% of the time. Okay. How much bigger are your muscles going to get? We don't even really know. Okay. We can't do research on it because there's some side effects of testosterone. Very well-known, not so great side effects. I'm aware of like one randomized control trial published in the New England Journal of Medicine maybe 20 or 25 years ago. Dudes, of course it was. It's always the dudes. Unless, of course, you're an East German swimmer or a Chinese swimmer and you're an Olympian and these kinds of things. But dramatically bigger muscles, more strength. Okay? Bigger muscles, more strength. So let's do the same thing with growth hormone. How many of you said growth hormone, yes, ergogenic? Growth hormone's good. Okay, maybe good's the wrong word. Growth hormone will make me stronger. Okay? I've only got Devin's the only one that's saying like, yes, thought so. Lana, Madison, if you guys were all there. Okay? Now why? What do you think was gonna happen with the growth hormone?
Well, I can't remember what
It does stimulate some other things for sure. That's true. What were you thinking the end product was going to be? Okay. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Basically, so one of the things that happens if I give you testosterone, it makes your growth hormone go up. Then your growth hormone goes up and it releases something called insulin-like growth factor 1, which is one of the things that's also can cause hypertrophy and make your muscles get big. Okay, so the growth hormone all by itself is not nearly as anabolic as the testosterone. I can inject you with growth hormone, and if you work out, you're going to get a little bit bigger muscles and some of those kind of things. But if I give you testosterone, you don't have to work out. You just get huge. Just sit there, do nothing, right? Just Netflix all day and testosterone, get big. Growth hormone's a little bit different. A little bit different. We don't fully understand all of that. Okay. I would say both of these things are sort of ergogenic training things in that way. Okay. Anybody remember? So, Madison, you had to sign something, I'm sure, about drug testing. Have you seen the list of banned substances by the NCAA?
Yeah.
Or might those two things be on there?
I don't read the list. I just.
You don't read the list, you just sign the paper?
To be honest, yeah.
Okay, okay. Do you think if you took either one of these, there's a chance you might get in trouble?
Sure.
Sure, okay? These are 100% banned, okay? 100% banned, right? By basically everyone. Not the least of which, because there's potentially some very bad side effects from all of these things. You take too much growth hormone, your feet get bigger, your skull gets bigger, okay? Like your hat size, like they knew all the baseball players were taking growth hormone because their hat size got bigger. Deposit bone and those kinds of things. It's pretty wild, it's pretty crazy, okay? So these two things, Are there ways to mask taking all of this? Does anybody know? Yeah, 100% there are ways to mask this. One of the ways that people that take testosterone mask taking testosterone is one of the things that we do. So it all depends on if you're going to have to give somebody urine or blood to do a test. Okay. And so generally, I think the NCAA only looks for stuff in urine. You don't ever have to give blood. They consider blood to be too invasive and too much of a violation of personal rights. At the Olympics or any other kind of professional competition, the Tour de France, those kinds of things, you're giving blood. Okay. So they look for the ratio of testosterone to something called epitestosterone, which is a precursor. And so some people naturally have more testosterone than others. So what they're looking at is if you're taking a bunch of extra testosterone, you have high testosterone levels and these much lower epitestosterone levels, which is going to be this thing. So people take stuff to artificially raise their levels of epitestosterone. They take female fertility drugs. So to mask all of that, because they're looking at the ratio of one to the other. So do some wild, crazy things in the midst of all of this to try to hide these things. So
What are the side effects of testosterone?
what are the side effects of testosterone? It depends. So in men, it can be a shutdown of the production of natural testosterone, shrinking of the testes, deepening voice, acne, roid rage, a whole kind of host of personality changes, testicular cancer. There's a lot of those kinds of things. In women, you get some of those same kinds of things, but you also get the development of male secondary sex characteristics. So voice deepens, facial hair, chest hair, like all of the things that we would normally think of as kind of male secondary sex characteristics are potentially going to develop. One of the classic ways, or classic, that's the wrong way to put it, people would talk about in like the 60s and 70s, the women, it was very famous, the East German women swimmers were all taking testosterone. Some of the Russians, where they didn't tell them what they were doing, they were just giving it to them. But like they would be in the locker room and they would think there were guys in there. And it was just the East German women swimmers because all of their voices hit deeper. Same thing happened in the 90s and early 2000s with the Chinese women. They're all doing the same thing, giving them all testosterone, much of it not even to their knowledge. And that's kind of what happens. So you develop those kinds of things. Some of which are reversible, a lot of which are not. Some of which we don't even really fully understand all of the because we don't have a lot of studies. It's sort of unethical when we know there might be bad side effects of things to actually do it again, to give it to people, even if they will willingly do those things, right? So, okay. Yes.
So
Ding.
it counts as an ergogenic training aid, but would you still call it like just an ergogenic aid?
It's a lot of gray area. There are people that will take it and they think that it gives, like you feel better, right? Anybody ever had, well, we'll talk about that later. Anybody ever had like a corticosteroid? You get prednisone or something, right? And you're like, I feel a lot better like today, right? Because it blunts the immune responses. It sort of acts in a different way, but you just kind of generally feel better, even if what's happening is maybe not the best thing in the world. So, but there are people that will, there's a guy that won the Tour de France and then got disqualified named Floyd Landis. And one of the things, like he had this crazy day where he caught way up on stuff and they tested him afterwards and he had like 7 times the testosterone levels that he was like that you would think a person would have. So he had clearly taken some on that particular day. It was so high. I would kind of, I don't really know. Anecdotally, maybe it would do some things, but it doesn't seem to me like we don't have any data that if I just give you testosterone, your match is going to be strong. Like, you're not going to have more muscle. It's probably not going to have any effects on your ability, like your central nervous system, to recruit muscle and stuff today. So I don't know, but maybe you feel better and it's like a placebo. So good questions. Okay. This one. Number 3, Gatorade. Gatorade. Yes or no, is Gatorade ergogenic? Despite their old ad campaign, it will not make you like Michael Jordan. Drink the Gatorade and be like Michael. That's not what it was. Okay. Number 4, water. Water. Number 5, a Coke. Doesn't have to be a Coke. It can be anything. It could be Dr. Pepper. It could be a Sprite. We'll know what your soda of choice is. Okay. And then a cup of coffee. That's the next cup of coffee. Okay. Let's see if I can get the other things dialed in here. So let's start with these. Riley, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We can kind of hear you in the classroom. What did you put on the Gatorade, Riley?
I put no.
You put no. Okay. Other people on Zoom, how many of the rest of you put no? It's not ergogenic. Okay. We got 2 takers, 3, 4 no's, a 5th no. Okay, so we're about half and half on Zoom. In class, how many people put yes, this is ergogenic? Most everybody in class said yes. Okay, how many no's in class? 2 no's mostly. Anybody like, I don't know, I'm not sure, Dr. Black, you're confusing me. McKenna? Okay, a little bit out. All right. Riley, why did you say no? We'll start with you.
I put no because I don't think that like just the drink itself can increase like force production, endurance, or skill.
Okay.
And if anything, it's like a very short-term effect.
Okay.
Long-term.
Okay. Okay. Let me pick someone. Emma, I think you said yes, right? Why did you say yes?
That's what Riley said, that long term it's not really doing anything.
Okay.
It's like after a workout, it reduces like the electrolytes, sugar boost.
Okay.
So maybe just like a short time, but not long term.
Okay. But if short term is yes, is that still ergogenic? Does that matter? Well, if I gotta go play a game right now, I gotta do something like right now. Is that good? Be useful to be better now, even if it's just for a short period of time. So let's think about this. Riley mentioned this. So McKenna, what do you know about what's in Gatorade? You know anything?
I don't drink Gatorade, to be honest, so.
Okay.
There's some sugar.
There is some sugar in it. Yes. Yes.
Electrolytes.
There are electrolytes. So there's sugar, there's salt. Yes. That's why if anybody's ever had Gatorade or powder, it's like extra slippery compared to water, kind of slimy, because there's salt in it. Okay, those are the electrolytes. Gatorade is a 6% carbohydrate solution, not that it matters to you guys. Powerade is 8% in those ways. Matt, were you a yes or a no? Okay. Do you know what else is in Gatorade? So we got some salt, we got some sugar. What else might be in Gatorade? Is some, that would be some of our carbs. I don't know what's there's not fructose, I believe. It's actually, I should look this up before, but there's Gatorade is glucose. It's a mix of glucose and maybe fructose. Maybe it's galactose. I get them mixed up. What is mostly, it's a 6%. Oh, we got one. Yes. Thank you, Max.
I forgot it.
Okay. One of our athletes in class was given some probably this morning when she finished.
By me.
By you, by Lauren. Okay. So 270 milligrams of sodium, 36 grams of carbs, and then no protein. There's some potassium. We're trying to figure out though what the actual carbs are. It says water, sugar, dextrose. So dextrose isn't sugar. Modified food starch, glycerol, red dye 40, blue dye 1 gets you purple, in case anybody wonders. Okay, it doesn't actually say. I would need to look up what that is. So, okay, thank you, Max. What else is in there? Gatorade is mostly what? Water. Okay, keep that in mind. Water. Oh, look, what's the next one? Water. What'd you guys put on water?
Yes.
You want to put yes? Okay. Some people put yes. We said yes on water. Anybody in no on water? You all think that water is ergogenic. Anybody in no? Okay, ladies in the back, y'all are no's. Okay. Why are you in no, Phoebe? Okay. Okay. What is water made of? That's on me. It's my bad. Okay. No. Water is water, right? Like, what's in water, Dr. Black? I don't know. How do you water? All right, smart guys. So that's fine. I deserve that. That's on me. It's my bad. It's my bad. Let's do this. Mallory, are you there?
Yes.
Yay or nay for you on water?
I said yes.
Okay. Why do you think yes?
I'm not really sure. I felt like it was a yes.
Okay, just felt like it was a yes. That is okay. That's fine. Okay. So what's different between water and Gatorade? Sugar, sodium, okay, yeah, sodium electrolytes, the same for the okay. The sodium, there's potassium in there, there's some salt, otherwise it's just water and water. Okay. So every one of you that said that water is ergogenic should have also probably said Gatorade is ergogenic. So check your answers. Just think about that. Okay. So let's talk about a soda of some sort. Okay. Maybe it's a Coke. There's the fact that I call it a soda making you. So I'm from the South.
No, I'm just having a coffee crash.
Oh, you're having a coffee crash. So spent 10 years in Georgia. In Georgia, everything is a Coke. A Dr. Pepper is a Coke. A Sprite is a Coke. You don't say soda. You don't say soft drink. You just say, I want a Coke. And then they'll say, what kind? That's what you say, right? Dr. Bellers knows. She's grew up in North Carolina or whatever. She knows. This is the thing. Everything is a Coke, okay? That's because Coca-Cola is based out of Atlanta. If you're a Pepsi person, I think that's based out of Dallas or somewhere. They're owned by Frito-Lay, which I think are based there. Pepsi also owns Gatorade and those things. What's in a Coke? Anybody got a Coke? Anybody have a thing? Sugar? Lots of sugar. Is there more sugar in Coke than in that Gatorade? I mean, probably not, right? Probably not. The thing that Madison just gave me had 140 calories in it. That's about as many calories as what a Coke has. So my guessing is that the sugar is probably about the same. So there's sugar. What else is in a Coke? Caffeine, yes. How much caffeine, Devin, do you know? It's okay.
I don't really drink.
41 milligrams. So I think a Coke is 41. No, maybe Diet Coke is 41 and regular Coke's like 38 or something. But that's not enough of a difference to really matter. There's a little bit of caffeine. Okay. Caffeine here? No. Caffeine here. What else? Coke is mostly what? Water. Okay. Water. Why is it fizzy? What's in there that makes it fizzy?
Carbonation.
Right. What is carbonation?
Air.
Air. It's CO2. It's okay. It's got carbon dioxide. That's why it's fizzy. If you had to pick of these three things, you are in the middle of working out or you just finished working out. I guess we should be talking about you're in the middle of working out and you got to drink one of these three things. What do you want to drink? What's going to be the thing you're like, ooh, yes, I am running 10K. I want this. Gatorade? Water? Okay. Madison, what would you pick? Gatorade. Okay. Why did y'all pick Gatorade? It tastes good. The Coke doesn't taste good. When was the last time y'all had a Coke?
Oh, I haven't had a Coke since like this.
I find that hard.
Get out.
I don't really like sodas. Only Sprite.
I don't even know what to say to you. I don't even know what to say. Okay.
Personally.
I'm gonna need a moment to regroup. Next, you can tell me like, I don't like cheeseburgers, or I don't, whatever.
I'm a picky eater, so
You like pizza?
yeah.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
That was close.
Redeeming quality.
Redeeming quality. All right. Anybody ever tried drinking Coke really fast?
Oh, it's hard.
It's hard. Why is it hard? CO2. Okay. That's all it is. It's basically just carbonated Gatorade with some caffeine in it. And what about this? What about coffee? Who said coffee was ergogenic? Okay. Phoebe's not sure, or you even know? Now you're confused. Yes! Class has been a success. I've actually confused everyone.
I've been lost.
Everything you thought you knew, I've totally gone away. Okay. Almost all of you guys say this. Okay. What's in coffee? Anybody got coffee with a cup that's got stuff on it? You all have your... There is caffeine in coffee, yes, unless you're going to get decaf, which then why? Why would you do that to yourself? Okay. There's caffeine. Looks like this. Okay. What else is in coffee? Water. Looks like this. Okay. Pretty good start. Anything else? What's in coffee? Are there calories in coffee? There's calories in black coffee, I think. I'm pretty sure. Really, is it only 5? Somebody Google that. There's really only 5 calories per cup of black coffee.
Black coffee doesn't have much.
Okay.
Less than 5.
What would most of you all put into your coffee?
Sugar.
Sugar. Okay. Anything else you put in there? Green, dairy, milk, right? Are there carbs in milk? Is there fat in milk? Yep. Okay. Again, it's warm, unless you're having iced coffee. But it kind of looks like these other things. Is there really less than 5 calories in black coffee?
Yeah, 5 calories.
Okay. I'm learning things today. Okay. So I've been purposefully a pain in the ass for you guys about these things. You know. So the correct answer to these, they're all ergogenic. Every one of them. Okay. All of these things are ergogenic. Okay? The only two, though, they're going to be a little bit different are Coke and coffee. Okay? You guys will see if you look forward in the PowerPoints to the end of stuff that we're probably going to get to talk about. So water is ergogenic because if you dehydrate yourself, which can happen during endurance exercise, especially endurance exercise in the heat from sweating, then your performance suffers. As you dehydrate, your VO2 max goes down, so you're going to have to find performance. Okay, so water, Gatorade, Coke, coffee, any of these things during a bout of endurance exercise, if you are sweating, then the fluid or the water in all of these things, the water in the water, can potentially stave off a decline in VO2 max and can therefore be ergogenic. Okay? So the Gatorade is a little bit different than the other ones, right? Or different than the water because the Gatorade also has carbs. Now, Coke and maybe if you're putting sugar in your coffee, they're also going to have some carbohydrates in it. In other very select circumstances, very, very select circumstances, the carbs in those drinks can also be ergogenic. Okay? During very long distance or very long time endurance exercise, things that are probably over an hour and a half long, over 90 minutes, okay? You can begin to deplete glycogen in your muscles, and you can begin to have a dip in your blood glucose levels because of all of this. And so having something that has carbohydrates in it, having something that has simple carbohydrates that can get digested and absorbed quickly will raise your blood glucose levels and can be ergogenic. It can stave off a measure of fatigue. Okay? So when we say is Gatorade ergogenic, you're like, yes, but it only depends. It's only endurance exercise of a very long, like it's not going to help you in a 10K or a 5K, but it might help with a half marathon towards the end. It might help with a full marathon or an ultra marathon, kind of in the back half of all of those things. Okay? Does the Gatorade help you recover afterwards? No. Only because it tastes good and maybe you've lost some fluid. It tastes better than water because water tastes like nothing, right? You may drink more of the Gatorade, and that's potentially beneficial. Okay. So these two are good for endurance exercise in the heat. Water is good for pretty much anything where you're sweating. That's going to be helpful. The Gatorade is better than the water if the time is maybe 90 minutes or greater. The Coke and the coffee are a little more complicated. There is a chance, probably not if you have one Coke, okay, but maybe if you had 2 or 3, that it might actually improve your strength, okay? There's a very good chance if you have a nice, say, 16-ounce cup of coffee, that you're going to get enough caffeine, that it will improve your strength, okay? So, in addition to these things having fluid and potentially carbohydrates that could make them useful during exercise in the heat, endurance exercise in the heat, or longer duration exercise where you might need the carbs, they also have caffeine. And if you can get to about 3 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram of body weight, which for some of you, if you're relatively small, might be 3 or 4 Cokes or just, a nice like sort of 2 8-ounce cups of black coffee, it can improve strength. The caffeine in and of itself also improves endurance performance. We have very, very good evidence of all of that in those ways. So this stuff can all be ergogenic, but for slightly different reasons. So if it's got caffeine, it may make both strength and endurance go up. If it's just the fluid, it's probably going to be endurance exercise. Okay. So I told you guys that Coke is based out of Atlanta. Coke owns Powerade. We got to test, not in my lab, but in our department, Every time Coke would develop a new version of Powerade, they would come to one of the labs in our department and they would test it. We had an environmental chamber. We had a room we could make the heat and the humidity whatever we wanted, and you could make all these different sort of measures. They made, and they never took it to market, they made Powerade that had caffeine in it. And I'm just telling you guys, that shit was awesome, right? You felt great with all of that, but they never took it to market. I don't know why. So there were like 3 studies published from our department on the Powerade that had caffeine in all of the stuff that it was going to do. So that's kind of what all goes on in the midst of all of this. Okay, so be careful about sort of what we're doing and how we're doing it. As I told you guys, have the coffee, don't buy the pre-workout. Okay, or if you don't like coffee like me, just go buy the caffeine pills and take the caffeine.
I think they have that now.
What?
I think they made Powerade caffeine.
They do, they have some things, but it's like a tiny, tiny amount.
No.
This was not a tiny amount. This was basically like a Powerade version of coffee or something. Like it was really meant to be marketed as this is a performance enhancer kind of thing. Not like morning version of Powerade. It's got 15 milligrams of caffeine in it to kind of rise in the morning or whatever. So, okay. Let's do this. Next one, creatine. Let's talk about creatine. Is creatine an ergogenic aid? Okay. Is creatine an ergogenic aid?
Kind of goes back to the same thing as testing pH.
How so, Dave?
But the won't do anything immediately, but long term it will increase the amount of creatine in the body. So then you can replenish the ADP factor, the weight loss related.
So why does practically every pre-workout in the world have creatine?
So it is a bit you'll see that ingredients.
You mean they're going to put things in there that aren't actually going to do what they say?
Oh, no.
They would never do that. I'm appalled.
I don't think I've ever heard your voice. But clear indication. We know your tell now.
You know my tell. Okay. So when you take creatine, what are you taking? You guys know? No idea? You're taking creatine. What is creatine? So it's sort of well, it's several amino acids. I mean, creatine is creatine, but I mean, it's like all of those things. It's a protein compound. When you take a bunch of creatine, where does it go? Do you guys know where it goes? It can certainly be used in the phosphocreatine system, but what is that? Do you know? One of the first energy systems. Wait, you're telling me that the creatine has to do with energy? If we were to go, it's Monday, I'm going to ask the bros doing bench press. Do they think the creatine has to do with energy? They think like, I'm going to take this and my muscles are going to get big. Okay. So creatine is going to help us. So about 80% of you guys, if we give you creatine over multiple kind of weeks, we give you creatine, you will have more creatine in your muscles. Therefore, that creatine will get hooked on with a phosphate group, so you'll have something called creatine phosphate. Creatine phosphate is an immediately available source of energy to replenish ATP stores. So you use creatine phosphate at the onset of exercise, sprinting, walking, anything that is going to go on immediately. It's also really useful if you're going to go and lift weights or do something. So when you bring creatine into the muscle, is water going to go after it and make your muscles a little swelly in those particular ways? Absolutely. You stop taking the creatine goes away, the water goes away, you shrink back down to your regular size in the midst of all of that. So creatine is not anabolic. It's not like testosterone. It's not like growth hormone. It does not stimulate protein synthesis. It does not drive by itself the formation of more muscle. It gives you more energy. Do we think that could improve strength or endurance? Yes. So in that way, creatine may be ergogenic. Okay, is it an ergogenic training aid? Maybe. But you can't just take it once and magically get more creatine. You have to take it for, I don't know what the loading regimes are now, but probably somewhere between like a week and 10 days if you eat extra stuff. You don't have to buy this, you just got to eat like 3 cans of tuna fish a day and you get the same creatine. Right? I think McKenna's with me. She's like, no, I'll take the protein, I'll take the shake, all of this that's going to be in it. That's the thing.
That's a lot of.
Yes. Any amount of tuna fish seems like a lot of tuna fish to me. Any amount is more than I am comfortable with. Yeah. Okay. So they call it's a muscle hydrator. That's just like the most ridiculous thing I've ever really heard of. All right. But it can increase these things. So what kind of exercise might this be useful to do if you have more creatine phosphate in your muscles? Lauren says endurance. Daniel says weightlifting. What do we think? Madison, what do you think? What might it be better for? Weightlifting. Okay. Probably things like sprinting or weightlifting or something where you're going to have to eat a lot of energy really quickly and do that kind of repeated times. Probably not great for endurance perspectives because you've used up most of the creatine phosphate in the first, say, 30 seconds of exercise. Okay. So that could be sort of a training aid, or could arguably, if you're just going to load up, it could be ergogenic for a particular race. Now my other favorite thing, protein. It's its official name, protein. What about protein powder? What do you guys think about this? Does it? If I give you protein today, are you going to magically be a better endurance athlete? What do you think? No? I need protein to build muscle. Yes.
But if you're at, if you're at a normal level,
It's not going to help you.
what if you always eat a lot of protein in your normal diet?
What is a lot of protein?
Like so much a kilogram of body weight.
Yes.
So if you eat that, or you eat over that, then I don't think that's,
Okay. Okay.
your body can only do so much.
All of these things are true. So your body can only do so much. And if you get enough in your diet, then it's not going to be helpful at all. You're just going to have really expensive urine. Okay. Of all the things we've seen so far, I would argue that the protein is the least ergogenic, or even the least ergogenic of a training aid of anything that we have. I suppose in some people, if you don't eat any protein, or you eat very low levels of protein, that, right, it's not gonna, maybe that way will be helpful to gain a little bit of muscle and make you a little bit stronger, and that can maybe improve performance. But really, really not a lot of great kind of physiology behind all of that. Okay. You all take like 2 things from class. One should be don't buy the protein powder. How about this? Somebody write this one down. This is a fun one to talk about. Chocolate milk. Chocolate milk. So let's see. Of my Zoom people, Kathy, are you there?
Yeah.
What do you think
Thank
about
you.
chocolate milk? Yay or nay?
It will be, it's really hard. I'm honestly really thinking about it. With the extra like added flavor of chocolate, like with all the sugar and stuff, probably not, but I'm leaning towards yes,
Okay,
but yeah.
that's fine. That's okay. We'll get a different opinion. Jordan, are you there?
Yes.
What do you think? Yes or no?
I said no.
Okay. What do you think?
I don't know. I just feel like chocolate milk has a lot of like added things, versus just like normal milk, but I don't really know much about it, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Okay. A lot of added things compared to normal milk, like the chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Which makes it really good. Normal milk, I'm not such a fan of. Chocolate milk, I'm definitely in on. We took our daughter to, we went to a pumpkin patch in Shawnee on Saturday. We tried to go like while the OU game was about to start in an effort to try to keep the crowds down. Little did we know that by this point in October, they literally had no orange pumpkins left on the vine. So we had to cut green pumpkins. There's a point to all of this. It relates to chocolate milk. And so, but my daughter had way big fun cutting and trying to find green pumpkins, which they graciously sold to us for like 50 cents a piece. So we're gonna see if we leave them out in the sun, or they may turn orange by Halloween. We'll see. We went to dinner afterwards and we ordered milk, and they gave us one, and they brought us a second one, and they brought her chocolate milk. And we wouldn't let her have it because she's never had chocolate milk, and there's no going back from all of that. Once you've had chocolate milk, regular milk is just a little bit lame on things. So what is in chocolate milk? Let's talk about that. What's in chocolate milk? Sugar. Chocolate is sugar, yes. Good stuff. Okay. What else is in there? Daniel, you seem like you were saying very strongly yes. What else is in chocolate milk? Yep. Milk is also mostly what? Water. It's water that has carbs in it. What does that sound like? Well, the Gatorade doesn't. So I can argue chocolate milk might actually be good for two things. One, it could function just like water or Gatorade or something. And it might actually be helpful for endurance performance when it was hot, or when you're going for a long distance, because it's got fluid to replace what you sweated out, and it has some carbs to maintain blood glucose levels. But it also has protein in it. So it could also function kind of like what whey protein does on the back end, where maybe it's going to potentially work as a training or recovery agent to help you maintain or build muscle mass at the end of it. So as it turns out, we'll ask Madison, do y'all have any of the Gatorade Recover stuff laying around anywhere anymore?
Like the Gatorade tactics?
No, but like, so the Gatorade used to have like a pre-workout Gatorade, a during the workout Gatorade, and then a post-workout Gatorade. Okay. Do you know what, if we look at the formulation of protein to carbohydrates to fluid and things in the Gatorade sort of recovery stuff, you know what it looks like? It looks just like chocolate milk. It looks just like chocolate milk. Carbs lead to an insulin spike, which drives more of the protein in the muscles. So it could work on. Okay. Do you drink the chocolate milk when you're done? You don't like chocolate milk?
I don't. I don't like milk in general.
Learning so many things about Madison today.
Sorry.
Do we have anybody else that doesn't like chocolate milk? I just want to know. Really? Okay.
Sorry you're disappointed.
Y'all are not disappointing. I'm disappointed. That's the wrong emotion. Okay. All right. Let's look at these kinds of things. I don't even know if they make this anymore, but it used to be a thing. It's a dietary supplement called hydroxycut. Okay. Or then a thing called dexatrim. These are basically diet pills. Okay. Before there were athletic greens, there was this. That's a good question, right? What do you guys sort of think are in these two things? Now, in the original formulation of hydroxycut when I was in high school, there was something called ephedra that was in it. Ephedra is meth. Okay, I'm not kidding, it's meth. Okay, it is meth. Methamphetamine, the ephedra, pseudoephedrine and stuff that's in Sudafed. Now you make meth. You guys have seen Breaking Bad, yes? No, maybe. Okay. Well, you take cold medicine and you do some chemistry to it, and you filter away all of the things, and you're left with the meth that is in there. Okay. So that's where Sudafed is just meth that dries you out in those kinds of things. So you used to have ephedra in there. They outlawed ephedra because people were dying from the ephedra. They would dehydrate themselves, it would give people heart problems. So they've switched now, and you go like one biochemical, either a precursor or a postcursor of ephedra, to kind of get around it. Okay. The primary ingredient in these two things is caffeine. Okay. So would these things be ergogenic? That's my question. Yes, 100% they would be ergogenic. Indeed, there's research on these things. We've tested them. Just give people a diet pill and say, here, go run. Magically they do better because there's caffeine in there. Here, go lift. Right? This is kind of the thing that is meant to kind of get at the same kind of thing like with the caffeine and pre-workout. Okay? This thing says it has Liquitech rapid release liquid micro dispensary technology. It comes in a gel capsule and it dissolves. That's what it is. There's no other sort of rapid release like whatever. See, it says it increases, right? Norepinephrine by 40%. That's just a precursor. Maybe it's a postcursor of pseudoephedrine. What's it pseudoephedrine? Just now. Okay. So there we go. So that would be my question as it relates to this. What about cocaine? Cocaine be an ergogenic aid?
Probably.
Yeah, 100%. Things that mimic sympathetic nervous system activity will be ergogenic. In addition to, I don't even like, who knows what else you feel like on cocaine? Probably alters your pain sensitivity and some other things in the midst of all of that. I cannot speak to the effects of cocaine, having never personally tried cocaine. So hopefully it will stay that way. Okay, here's a fun one. This is something called erythropoietin, or EPO. Erythropoietin. Ergogenic, yay or nay, and or what?
By the way, there's a lot of stuff.
Dan says I take a gallon of chocolate milk for a PR day. Okay, that's good, Dan. Let's look. Who have we not called on in here? Let's go with Ramsey. Are you there?
Yeah,
What do you
sorry,
think?
my voice is gone.
Sounds okay to us.
Okay,
What do you think about EPO? Ergogenic, yay or nay?
I said yes, but I don't really know what that is.
Don't really know what it is. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Hannah, can you help her out? Do you know what EPO is?
I don't really know what it is either.
Okay. Does anyone know what EPO is or what erythropoietin is?
Doesn't it like help with like oxygen transport and all that in the bloodstream? Because it's what Lance Armstrong used.
That's right, Dylan. It does help with oxygen transport in the blood, but the question is how? What does EPO do that would increase oxygen transport in the blood? Perfect, Phoebe. Erythropoietin is the hormone that tells bone marrow to make more red blood cells. When you take EPO, you get more blood, you get more red blood cells very quickly. Okay? You have more red blood cells, you can carry more oxygen, your endurance performance goes up significantly. all of the things that I've shown you guys so far, this is probably the single most potent ergogenic aid that I've shown you guys for endurance exercise performance. This is the thing. Now, you can achieve the same effect by go down to CSL Plasma, donate a pint of your blood, tell them I don't want to get paid, I just want you to give my blood, and I want to take it home with you. Bring it down here, put it in the centrifuge, we'll spin it, we'll pour off the plasma, we'll take your red blood cells, and then we'll infuse them back into you. We'll run a venous catheter, we'll infuse them back in. Voila, you now have more red blood cells. Which is how they would do blood doping in the 60s and 70s and the 80s. Okay. Then they're like, oh, you can buy synthetic erythropoietin and inject it. Like Lance did.
My mom went to school with Lance Armstrong.
Cool.
High school.
High school with Lance. Okay. Does she have stories?
No,
Just, okay.
I saw him in a yearbook picture.
You saw him in a yearbook picture. Okay. But there's an untapped documentary waiting to be made here about this. We need some info.
I don't know, I ask her all the time.
Okay. About all of those things. Okay. This we can't test for very easily. This is one of the things that the IOC and WADA is really concerned about. So they get around all of this by looking at your red blood cell content. And you have to measure a person's red blood cell content basically every couple of weeks over several straight years. And you watch for fluctuations. Okay. One of the ways to make your red blood cell content go up is to go to altitude. So we've taken people to altitude, have them like live at Everest Base Camp for several months. And you see what people's red blood cell content can get to as a percentage of their total blood. It's about 50%, 51%. Okay. If WADA or the IOC ever sees somebody that has a hematocrit concentration above all of that, they say you're doping. Because people just like, you can't physiologically get to there. It becomes very dangerous. You're going to have blood clots and things when you sleep. Okay. So they measure you like every 2 weeks. You got to show up on like an hour's notice. You got to show up, give blood. They measure these things called a physiological passport. And they track you. They track you in season, they track you out of season. If you see these large, very, very quick fluctuations in things, and you've not reported being at altitude and all of this, and they say, okay, you might take an EPO. Because they can measure you for EPO, but the EPO doesn't stay around very long unless you make some of your own. So they've gotten a lot better at all of these kinds of things and trying to track all of this. And if you don't show up like every 2 weeks for your blood test, disqualified, you can be banned for life. Things like that. So it's pretty wild. Okay. Tones. I think we talked about this with the class one day. Maybe it was in my graduate class. Tones. We're going to make Emma eat half that bottle of Tones. Is that going to help her performance? What do you think?
I don't know before.
You ever had Tums?
No.
Okay. Have you had any kind of antacid? Have you have an upset stomach or anything? Tums, Rolade, Melanta, Malox, anything? Anything. Okay. You didn't grow up in the black household where my mom would carry around like a bottle of Melanta and just like drink it like, you know, like it was red wine or something in those ways. It's all an anxiety kind of thing. Okay? You guys are aware of what these things do? It's a blood thinner?
Or something like that.
Ooh. No, I wouldn't think so.
They have some other function that isn't like advertised, but you can take a bunch from at once.
Yes, there is another thing that's not advertised. That's correct. You take a bunch at once, it's a laxative. Never advertised as a laxative, but it's a laxative.
There are directions on the back.
Oh, I know. take this, it's good for an upset stomach. Take 3 times that much, it's a laxative. Someday you all will have to have a colonoscopy or something like this that's going to be done, and you all will learn the joys of how we sort of rid the body of things to make better images in the midst of this. One of them can be this. Okay? So it contains something called bicarbonate. So Tums is really good at buffering acid. Buffering acid. If you eat a bunch, you get a bunch more bicarbonate in your blood, which means you can buffer lactic acid. And lactic acid is potentially the hydrogen from lactic acid is the thing that increases exercise. So much like the creatine, if you take a bunch of Tums, it can actually be helpful for kind of repeated sprinting or weightlifting kinds of things. But you got to take a bunch. So there is a side effect. There's definitely a side effect. A dude bro?
Whatever you call them.
I just call them bros, but I like dude bros. That's even better. Right? A dude bro. Okay. Taking a bunch, like, bro, we're gonna have a bunch of these things.
Yeah, and then going to the hub and it's not anything well.
If you see a dude bro sprinting for the locker room, you know what happened.
We should post a flyer like that and see what happens.
Okay. A couple of last ones. Pasta. Who loves some pasta?
Beer specifically, or is it alcohol?
Beer specifically. We're going to get to that in a minute. Let's do pasta first.
Yeah.
Pasta ergogenic. For what? Weightlifting, running, biking, what? Why do you say endurance, Danny? So I need to eat a bunch of spaghetti and then go run my marathon. Okay, so how's it ergogenic then? But if I ate spaghetti today and I go run this weekend, are those carbs still hanging around?
No.
So I'm confused. But if I said, if I'm going to carb load, like, where do the carbs go? I mean, you digest them within 90 minutes or something like all of that. They're probably all absorbed within a couple of 3 hours. Where do they go? Stores? What are these stores you speak of? Fat stores. But Dana just said that it's carbs. I got a carb load. Didn't say I got a fat load. Okay. Stores glycogen. Where is there glycogen in your body? You guys know? Muscles and liver, very good. That's fine. So if you eat a bunch of carbs, you go in the olden days, right? In the before times, before the COVID, if you were to sign up for like the Oklahoma City Marathon or pretty much any marathon where they have usually they have an event the night before where you go and you get to eat a bunch of pasta. Or the idea is you eat this, you eat a bunch of carbs, it raises your muscle glycogen stores even within like a day, makes your muscle glycogen stores go up. You have more glycogen, you've got more readily made carbs to be able to use during your endurance exercise. It takes longer to deplete all of that. I do not advise eating a bunch of spaghetti and then trying to go run. That's probably a bad idea. But the day before, 2 days before, yes, absolutely that. Absolutely that. See, all right, let's do one last one. One last one. What about beer? What about beer?
want to say yes, but I don't have any justification.
You want to say yes.
After like one or
Be bad? Why would it be bad?
And I'm gonna perform well if you drum up there.
Okay. Fair.
Most people.
What happens when you're drunk? What kind of performance is going to be most affected from that? Somebody said it. Motor ability, right? It's a central nervous system depressant. So you lose coordination, you lose balance, right? Good times, right?
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't try to walk over curbs and various things if you had a couple.
Oh, that's why you have a sober friend with you. Get you cross race.
Okay. Okay. But if I gave you one of these, what might it be useful for? Beer is also mostly what? Water. It's water with carbs. Again, sounds like Gatorade, doesn't it? So there's also alcohol. You can actually metabolize the alcohol and get energy from the alcohol. That's also fine. So within reason, if there's a kind of point before this makes your motor skills get too out of kilter, then this could also potentially be ergogenic during endurance exercise. So we ran in a race in Atlanta that's on the 4th of July every year. It's a 10-kilometer race. It's the largest 10K in the world. Usually every year there's 60,000 people that run. I finished the race before my wife even got to start. There were so many people that put us in these sort of corrals and things. But all along the way, you're just running, and then people would just, the bars would just be open, they would hand you beer. It was not to improve your performance. It was more just as kind of a giveaway. But in the old days, cyclists, like the Tour de France cyclists and those things, they would drink beer, right? Can't you envision some European guys just pounding some beers while they're on their bikes and things? They would drink beer before there was Gatorade. And they're like, why does this work? And you can't have too much, but you're on a bike, it's a little easier. Motor skills are a little more kind of patterned in, but it's the same kind of a thing. Also, just a little bit of the alcohol might alter perceptions, might also alter pain sensitivity and those kinds of things, and therefore could also lead to some enhancements in performance that way. Please do not take this as me advocating that anyone, one, that you drink, especially if you're not 21, or two, advocating that you get on a bike after you've had that. You can get pulled over for a DUI on your bike.
Can?
Yes, it's the same thing. Yeah, you're endangering yourself and other people and things. So just no. Also, don't have this and get on a bird scooter or whatever those things are, a lime scooter. Do none of those things. If you choose to consume any alcohol, call an Uber. Okay? Or do something of that nature, but it can be potentially ergogenic in kind of smaller doses. All right. So the only piece of this, and I'll let you guys go early. The only piece of this that I want to talk about is in the slides. There's some stuff that's pretty straightforward. We're going to break ergogenic aids into kind of these 4 categories: pharmacological agents, so like drugs and things like that. But also remember that caffeine is a drug. That's a pharmacological agent. Hormonal agents, things like steroids, growth hormone, insulin. These are the hormonal ones that are going to tend to not so much be ergogenic, but kind of ergogenic training aids. Physiological things, this is EPO and taking bicarbonate or Tums or something like that. And then nutritional ones are going to be like carb loading, sports drinks, creatine, water, things like that. Okay. So the ones that work the best are the pharmacological ones, the physiological ones, and the nutritional ones. There's going to be some information on all of this. All that I want you guys to know, though, about this is this one thing. Okay. A cautionary tale. Drugs versus supplements. Okay. Drugs versus supplements. Something that's near and dear to me, especially in these times of people being worried or skeptical about vaccines, but also taking apparently horse dewormer and zinc and a bunch of other kinds of things. Okay, so the Food and Drug Administration has different guidelines for something that's called a dietary supplement and something that's an actual drug. Okay, for the FDA to approve a drug, which means that a doctor can prescribe it to you, and then a pharmacist has to dispense it, or some sort of over-the-counter drug, which is going to be at a lower dose that can be sold in the pharmacy. There's a process that's in line for those things. You have to do multiple studies, you have to present this data, and you have to do this kind of cost-benefit analysis on what are the possible side effects, what are the potential benefits of all of this at different doses. You have to show that it works and is relatively safe in animal models and in humans of all different ages and sizes and all of these different things. That's how you get approval for a drug. Okay? A supplement, on the other hand, is something that's not a drug, and you cannot claim to have any positive effects, which is weird given what all supplements do. Okay? You can't say that it's going to actually help, right? All you have to do is demonstrate that there is no real apparent risk. Okay? No apparent risk. We go to any pharmacy, we go to Walmart, we go to any health food store, and there's just shelves full of what we were going to call dietary supplements. Protein powder is a dietary supplement. Creatine powder is a dietary supplement. Okay? Some diet pills and things are considered dietary supplements. Vitamins, okay, everything else that you can think of, all of those things. There's minimal regulation if you can show that there's no apparent risk, but you don't have to demonstrate that there's any benefit whatsoever. Okay, not to show that there's benefit, just that there's minimal risk. And you, in theory, cannot advertise it as having some therapeutic or positive value, and yet everybody does, right? And you say like, oh, well, it's shown to do this and this and this, but you don't quite go so far as to say, well, it does this and this, and that will lower your blood pressure, right? And then you have to say like, these claims have not been tested or verified by the FDA. All right. So many of the things that you guys will encounter that are going to be ergogenic or whatever are going to be considered dietary supplements. I just want you guys to be careful. Most of these things aren't going to hurt you, but they're also probably not going to help you. This is not a multi-million-dollar business. It's a multi-billion-dollar business in selling us things that look and sound like they ought to work or ought to be helpful, right? How can you know? Is this helping me? Is it not helping me? Right? I took it and I feel the same or I feel better. But we don't know. If you hadn't taken it, would you feel better? Nobody knows. So just be wary of these things. Look for actual research on those things. And that research is not some person on my mom's Facebook group sent them an article from, this message board on a place. Okay, it's probably not the best way. Okay, so it's about noon. Let's go ahead and we'll cut out a little bit early. All right. I need your 6-minute walk test, all of that data. I need it all by class time on Wednesday. Okay. Lab is due on Friday. Your aerobic exercise critique is due next Wednesday. So keep those things on your horizon. All right. Good deal. Please turn in what you wrote today or email it to me.